is called Bulletproof, and this is when they this is taking place right after. So at the end of episode 3, his Kevin and his personal trainer, his name is Banks.
Boss.
Mm-hmm. They get into an altercation on a flight, and episode 4 bleeds into how Kevin wants to take accountability for his actions. Blah blah blah. So this is continuing the narrative of Kevin was just so emotionally distraught that he was just being an asshole to everybody. But I wrote that Kevin has a Napoleon complex.
Bobby, I didn't even have to write that down. I was gonna say it anyway. Kevin, Kevin's short.
He's short. He's surrounded by people
He's short.
Who are bigger
He's very
than
powerful.
Very
He's surrounded by people that are bigger. But the only way he can show his strength
is through money.
And I will tell you, Boss is very dedicated from what they showed us. Mm-hmm. Getting up, plotting nothing in the morning, coming and doing his job, working out, getting to the gym before Kevin, all of that. Kevin has a problem with men of Boss's stature, I will say.
I think so.
And I didn't like the way, and this was this Bulletproof, when the way that he talked to him on the plane?
I think it might have been either the very end of 3 or the very beginning of 4. But they both bleed into each other basically because they're talking about the same thing. But I think I agree with you. I would add the caveat, he has a problem with people of Boss's stature, asterisks, if they are not dependent on him.
Yes.
Boss has his own stuff. Uh-huh. Boss is simply he's there in his life. He's like, you are one of my clients. Mm-hmm. But he was saying, I've been making money before you, and I'm going to make money after you. And Kevin,
so tell us what Kevin Kevin did to Boss on the plane. So that the people will know what happened.
So Kevin, they're coming, I guess, from some type of function. Everyone is there. Nico, it's Kevin, I think one of the plastic couple.
Harry go along with everything Kevin said except for one thing, and I'm gonna bring that up. But Harry goes along to get along.
Boss, and then Nico is sitting next to Boss.
Nico half sleep,
bundled up in a blanket.
All of them been drinking.
Yeah, they're inebriated, and they start getting into a conversation.
Boss didn't seem like he had too much to drink. He seemed like he was more level-headed than everybody. Me. But Kevin kept trying to it was almost like a pissing contest of like, you just like, not who has more money, but the general field of conversation was that you need me. I don't need you. I can do this personal training stuff on my own. And I think Boss at first thought he was like joking. Yeah. But then he was like, dude, I don't need you either. Like Kevin was trying to do the whole like, do you have a house and do you have this and do you have that? And Boss was like, I'm good with or without you. And then it started to go left because the camera guy got a little bit too close to Boss, and as he's getting heated, and so he like swats the camera guy away. And then you just hear Kevin and Boss going back and forth. And then Anika wakes up and says, no, y'all stop.
Stop. And it's like, where were you when it was built? I'm like, there are two people here.
I'm like, Anika, I ain't getting into this.
My name Paul, and this is between y'all.
Absolutely.
But it's just started to build and build and build. And so I think they either grounded the plane or the plane landed and the police were there. Mm-hmm. And Kevin... And they were obviously Boss is still furious. He's furious, and he's a big, tall man who's furious. And Kevin, short little guy, he has to die down the situation because he knows that now they're not in the air anymore, so it's not a hazard. They're on flat ground. Mm-hmm. And if Boss really wanted to get into it with him, he could have. And Kevin said that if they would have just let them go, somebody would have ended up getting arrested, and he knows it would have been Boss because Kevin would have got his.
Kevin know how to spin it. He know how to spin it. He would have got his butt whooped, and then he would have known how to spin it too, so he wouldn't be involved with it. One thing that I wrote down was emasculate. Mm-hmm. It was cringeworthy to watch another black man emasculate another black man. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, in front of everybody. Mm-hmm.
About money.
About money. You getting into a pissing contest about money because that's your draw. That's all you have. Kevin pays to keep people around him. Kevin is afraid to be alone.
Very afraid.
That's why Kevin got divorced. He didn't want that wife. So he wanted, he wanted, he talking about he didn't know if he was going to get married again. Yes, you did. Kevin is one of those dudes that has to have somebody in his life. He's just, and it don't mean he going to do him right, but he always has to have people around him.
He needs a warm body.
He needs a warm body around him. He needs dudes around him, and he needs his girl around him.
And you know what? I think that theme continues on as we're in episode 4. And episode 4 is called Bulletproof. Which, okay. And Kevin texts the group or whatever saying that he took full responsibility.
Who's the group? The Plastic Cup Boys?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's saying that I take full responsibility for what happened last night, but then he also kind of gaslights them and says, I've been on edge ever since. And then they put blank did what he did. I have no right to take out my frustrations from that incident out on y'all.
That's definitely gaslighting.
That's so gaslighting because the thing is like you are a grown man. And I wrote in my notes that as celebrities get bigger and bigger, they become more like babies. They have to have someone there, that's going to, they're babies in the sense of like, I act out, but this thing happened to me, so...
And everybody's supposed to feel sorry for them.
Supposed to tell them right from wrong.
Think about it, Bobby, it's narcissism.
Yeah.
Think about if these celebrities didn't have money. They would still be narcissists.
Yeah.
They would just be broke narcissists. I see it every day.
There's plenty of broke narcissists walking around.
It's a bunch of them. Some of them we know all too well. But anyway, there's a lot of narcissism in Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And he wants everybody to cater to him, to feel bad for him. And I was just over it at that point.
Because it was one thing after another. And the thing is, that was a constant every single time they brought up brought up a situation where Kevin did something wrong. The way that they would remedy it is by having Kevin saying, I fucked up. Yeah. And thinking like, oh, he's absolved.
Just because you keep saying that you fucked up and taking accountability.
Or so you think.
It doesn't mean that wipes out what you did.
No. It doesn't. And so the thing is, the emasculating thing, I didn't even think about it when watching it. But then from the fight where the whole crux was that Kevin, you need Kevin to survive or whatever. Then you go into Boss going above and beyond with this chase thing. Yeah. For Kevin.
Wasn't it was it a chase fundraiser?
It was like a so people would work out with Kevin, and then he would talk to them about, being financially healthy, and this goes back into the whole thing.
It was a meeting that Boss set up with
Boss
Chase
set
Bank.
up, and that he led, and that Kevin was kind of there saying, this is what I want, but Boss was really the one
that put it together.
So it's again kind of the emasculating thing where it's like, y'all went almost to fisticuffs over this thing, but now
and ruined the relationship.
You're still doing stuff for me because I gave a half-ass apology.
Absolutely. Boss, I liked what Boss brought to the table because he did show that he can stand on his own too. Now, are we saying that he doesn't benefit from Kevin? He absolutely does benefit from Kevin.
He does.
But he gives to Kevin like Kevin gives to him. It is a two-way street. It's not just like he just eating off his plate.
Like the rest of the plastic cover.
Yeah. Some of the, except for Joey. I like Joey.
I like Wayne and I like Joey. Because Wayne does something in the last episode that I think is really important. So this episode I wrote, this is starting to feel like one big commercial for anything related to Kevin. They go into the Comedy Central show, and then they go into this, and then they go into that. I'm like, this has nothing to do with anything. This just shows, how busy Kevin Hart is. And then at the end of it, they're talking about how, he's always prided himself on the fact that his movies have never done well with the critics. They've always done well with the audience, and that's all he cares about. So they build up Night School, which is the first official movie under his production company. They build it up, and then he reveals that they show a bunch of quotes from different critics saying that Night School is a bad movie, and the jokes are flat and they're just simple and everything. And then you get to Kevin saying, well, it made $100 million in the first 2 weeks, so that's all that I care about.
Yeah, but the movie sucked. I mean,
the movie was bad.
The movie was horrible. I mean, I'm happy he made his money and then some, but the movie was horrible. I don't know what fans he's polling to really find out what they think, but the movie was not funny.
Well, he's going off of Cinema Score, which I think is a user database where it's almost like Rotten Tomatoes, where you can go.
Okay.
The regular people can review, but the thing is,
we'll let them have that one.
It's easy to spam those sites. You can have a person post 100,000 reviews of one movie, and that can bump up the score.
Bump up the score. See, I knew.
So and I think if you are running a production company, it's a little bit problematic. I'm using your word. It's a little bit problematic to say that you're more focused on what made all this money, so that's all I care about. And it's like, if you're a production company, your focus should be on making a good film
and getting better
because unfortunately the audiences aren't going to be the ones that give you awards,
right,
or accolades. That comes from critics. And in Hollywood, everyone knows, even people not in Hollywood, that that for a film to be revered and for you to bring in more money, awards help that. And so if you're over here, well, the audience bought into it, so that's all I care about, you're gonna make 100,000 films that your so-called audience loves, but if the critics are like, this is a bad movie, you're just gonna be saddled with these,
bad movies,
these cash bag bad movies. So that was a little bit of film nerd in me that I was like, you can't. This seems counterintuitive.
Absolutely.
The rest of this episode was just basically him gallivanting around with Tiffany Haddish, and they both mentioned generational wealth, thinking they were doing something like that, and then
I mean, full disclosure, I'm not a fan of Tiffany Haddish. I think I'm happy to see that as a black woman, she's doing her thing. I don't like her comedy.
I agree. I think I've tried. It's not like I've seen one thing and I didn't like. I've tried my hardest.
I have. I've tried to watch. I've watched a ton of her stuff.
I watched a ton of her movies. I've watched.
But it's a one note.
Watched her on SNL.
It's a one note. It's always the ghetto girl vibes, and it just falls flat.
It comes off as desperate sometimes, because when she was talking about generational wealth, she's like, I ain't got no generations yet, but I'm gonna have some, and are you free for dinner? Yeah, somebody gonna get me pregnant because I got a lot of money.
I can't even talk about it for too long because it's
Tiffany, do better. Anyways,
yes.
Then we go into the last couple of episodes,
which was the next one was This Has to Work.
Yeah, so this is him talking about. This is basically when they talk mostly about his tour. And him filming
the Irresponsible tour.
Yeah. And him filming in London. And the whole This Has to Work is based off of a joke that he's told that this is his second marriage, and so if this one has to be the one to work.
Now I'm gonna tell you that the Irresponsible tour was funny. Mm-hmm. Like Kevin's stand up, say what you will, for me it's funny. His movies suck. I don't like his movies. He's got to do better with that. But his stand-up is truly funny.
Yeah.
The Irresponsible tour was a success.
Mm-hmm.
It was a success. However...
What do you mean? However...
Oh, I was going to say something.
Building up. I was like, however what?
No, I was going to say, however, it's not just about the tour. This episode, we get to see him... get in the news about hosting the Oscars.
Okay, so yes, so you gotta give me signals on when you're going to build to something. So yes, this is the episode where he finds out in Melbourne, Australia, that he is being asked to host the Oscars. And so the whole episode is essentially about the Irresponsible tour and how he needs stand-up, blah, blah, blah. So then they get to the end of the episode and he announces to the crowd, hey, I just got the call that I've been asked to host the Oscars. Yay, blah, 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 blah. So I think this is a peg in the let's build up Kevin's credibility tour that this whole documentary has been on. Mm-hmm. And it was showing people talking about, I love Kevin, and oh my gosh, like he's so funny.
Did you hear the dude say, I love Kevin, but wait, but not better than Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, it's like Dave Chappelle. I noticed
y'all gonna edit it out. That's what he said. Y'all gonna edit that out? No, because that's true.
That's true. It is, because
I love Dave Chappelle.
It was funny that they kept that in, because it almost kept Kevin grounded in a way of like, the whole world may love you.
You funny.
But you're not Dave Chappelle.
You ain't the funniest. Yeah, you ain't Dave Chappelle funny.
You're not, and the fact they showed Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, no.
He just got on a wife beater,
he just chilling. I love it.
Straight chilling.
But he's so intelligent.
And he's, even they showed at the beginning talking about Kevin. The joke was that Kevin Hart is perfect. He's four tweets shy of perfect. And I thought that was just hilarious, because in the end, Kevin Hart, yes, he is successful. Mm-hmm. Yes, he has all this money. And yes, he is so busy.
Yes.
But it comes down to the nitty gritty of, are you funny? Because you can have your hands in a lot of different places.
His stand-up is funny.
His stand-up is better than his movies. But Kevin, for him, even though he says, I need stand-up, stand-up is not enough for him. He has to do all these thousands of different things.
He has to diversify, because, like, he's the type of comedian that all of his stuff is based off of his
life.
His life.
Yeah.
Whereas Dave Chappelle can talk about any and everything that's going on. Like, I would want to see what it looks like for Kevin to talk about politics and make it funny and reflective for people. I don't know he can do that.
He wouldn't do that, because this showing how busy he is showing that he's driven by money, which we're in a capitalist society, so a lot of people. And then
he came from nothing.
He came from that, so the money is going to be the first thing. So he would never talk about anything that would jeopardize a business partnership, unless it was something that he truly believed in, which gets into the last episode, where everything hits the fan.
And this is called Kingdom of Kevin,
which is something that is quite the title. So it begins with basically this whole thing. Once the fervor of Kevin being the host for the Oscars begins to build, then right smack dab in the middle of that, the tweets surface.
And what were the tweets about?
The tweets were some distasteful tweets that use some jargon that was a little bit homophobic, that could be read as homophobic.
How long ago were the tweets?
They were from 2009 and 2010. One of them was from 2011. So that little, right when his star was really ascending, was when those tweets were written. But now they come back up to the surface. And looking back at what the tweets were, they were definitely tone deaf for now, but they weren't, I don't think.
I'm just going to be honest with you, Bobby, because I know that our generations are different. I'm around Kevin's age, and growing up, there was not sensitivity to, homophobia, and there was not, you have lesbians, and you have transsexuals, and you have pansexuals. It wasn't all of these labels growing up. It was either you're gay or you're not.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of loose terms that were used when I was growing up, but nobody thought anything of it. All of the comedians back then used it. They used the F word. They used all types of stuff that today you would cringe at. But when you grow up a certain way and around things, it's just how you roll until you get older and you learn along the way that some of that stuff was wrong. So I asked you, when were the tweets written? Because if it was during 2009 to 2011, well, that was 9 years ago. So if he hasn't done anything in that period of time, I don't think he should go back continuously and apologize for everything that he said regarding it, because it's just like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. Now, if I address it and say, I apologize, it was insensitive, I know better now, that should be enough. it shouldn't become this apology tour that every time I pop up on an interview, I gotta continuously apologize. Do you know how? I mean, there's pockets of people that have had shameful things said about them. I mean, we don't have to go any further than the black community, and we still being called stuff that's derogatory to this day. So I don't condone that type of language now, given the climate that we're in. But if you're in my age and older, anybody can tell you that it wasn't like this back then. Like you just said what you said. Not that I was saying anything, but that's what I grew up hearing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I think I agree with the sentiment that the times were different. Mm-hmm. But my main crux in my issue with the whole thing wasn't necessarily what was said. What was said was, it was just tone deaf to me. It was like, okay, where's the joke? I get the joke, but where's the joke?
Yeah.
My thing was the apology. So as they unfold in this episode, mm-hmm. my issue with Kevin is that you have said this thing. It has come to light. You now have to be methodical with how you move. And at every single turn after this thing blew up, Kevin made wrong turn after wrong turn after wrong turn.
Do you think that he ever apologized?
I think that he didn't, because the thing is, he messed it up for himself. I don't think that he should have to go on this big apology tour, but it is extremely methodical with how you move after the thing comes to light. So as soon as it gets to his team that this is now bubbling up, and they tell him, hey, Kevin, this thing is happening. We need to figure out what we're going to do. He gets on Instagram in bed with a bunch of gold diamond chains on, talking about, giving this half-ass apology. That's now your first point of, that's your first time that you've spoke on the issue. So when people see that.
What did he say? What did he say in the bed? Like, what did he, because I thought, okay, I thought that he did apologize. That he did say that that's not what he's doing anymore. And I felt like it was an apology.
But I think sometimes with an apology, and we're thinking about it, I think within the context of what, to a regular person, what is an apology? It's more about what you say, right? Like, mm-hmm. for you and me, it's more about, okay, this is what I'm saying, and I want you to know that I'm sincere in my choice of words. With Kevin, and a bunch of people said this, it wasn't what he was saying, it was how it was presented. And that, when you're a celebrity.
So should he, in how he presented, the first time he was in bed with chains around his neck, you felt like he should have put some clothes on and officially.
Well, the thing is, I feel like he first should have gone to his team, because I wrote, what are you paying all these people for if you're not going to listen to them?
That's
and
true.
Most of them, the publicist was saying, listen, you need to shut up because you're making this worse for yourself.
Yeah.
And he was. The first video was him in the bed with the chains. Then it was him on the balcony saying, I'm not going to apologize. And then you go on this big...
He went on Ellen.
He went on Ellen, but to some people, and, this is, whatever. But to some people, Ellen is what America sees as a lesbian, but she's not representative of everybody.
So then my thing is, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, what should he have, how should he have apologized?
To me, what he was saying was true, because people are capable of change. And I haven't, in that time period between when the tweets were sent and now, I don't feel like I've gotten the vibe that Kevin Hart is a homophobe. And I don't think that he is a homophobe. Mm-hmm. But body language is everything. So if you say something that's insensitive to someone else, or someone takes fault with what you said, mm-hmm. and if you are apologetic, if I'm just like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm sorry you felt that way about what I said, blah, blah, blah. If you give off the half-ass appearance, then someone that would have forgiven you if you seemed sincere, it would have been like, I get it. That was, it was
so really times. It boils down to sincerity in words.
That's what one of the people in his circle was saying. It was tone. Your tone was wrong. you weren't wrong in what you were saying because your words on paper were sincere, but it is your presentation and it is your tone. And for celebrities, I think a lot of people don't really realize that tone is everything with celebrity. So when you say something that offends a certain group, and the people, when he had that big meeting, one of them said something that was extremely true, which was the people that are upset are people that don't know you. So you can't just sit in your bed on your social media to people who follow you and who are engaged with you.
Yeah.
You can't sit in the bed, give an apology that might be good for them, but to them, they don't know you, so they're seeing you and they're like, this man gave a half-ass apology in his bed. And he's a jerk. And he's a jerk. I don't forgive him. Yeah. And I think that that's what the issue came down to for me. I'm like, not only are you being stubborn with how you say your apology, you're also not doing it correctly. If you think that you are so right, you also have to take whatever comes from that. So you're over here like, I said what I said on Ellen. That's what I'm going to say. I said what I said on Ellen. No, before you even got to Ellen, you messed up 2 times. So people are seeing that, and then they're not going to be more willing to take your apology that you made on Ellen. So that was.
And then he do Good Morning America or something?
On Good Morning America, that's when he said, no, I've already addressed it. And so the reporter's asking him, like, but don't you think, are you apologetic for what you said, blah, blah, blah. And his only answer was, no, I've already said what I said. I've already addressed it.
That's insensitive.
And that, in that moment, he said, that's what backfired on me. Because then people are looking at me like, I'm a jerk. In that case, you are. I get that you're exhausted from being on this apology tour and having to repeat yourself. I understand that. I really do. But at the same time, you have now opened yourself up because you put out these tweets. And the thing was, it's not like no one knows him, Kevin Hart, when he put out these tweets. He had people knew who he was because this was around his first couple of comedy specials. So he had an audience of people. When you, as a celebrity, put yourself out there to tweet this thing, this is with anybody, you then take responsibility for what you said. You cannot say, oh, well, I just said that thing. I didn't mean it. No, you put it out there. It's now tied with your name.
I get that. I get it.
My thing is, you are a celebrity, and unfortunately, because you're on a platform, you might have to apologize a couple of times because you're now apologizing to people who don't know you, who don't care about you, who don't interact with your content. So they don't know who you are as a person. Well, and when he said, I know what being a real homophobe, I know what that looks like, and that's not me. Yeah. I agree with him. In my head, I was like, I don't think you're a homophobe, but to someone who sees these tweets, number one, then they see your first apology where you're in bed looking like you just woke up. Then they see your second apology when you have your AirPods in, you're on the balcony in somewhere talking about, I refuse to apologize for what I said. And then on a Good Morning America interview, you are seen saying, I don't want to talk about it anymore. To someone who doesn't know you, that could easily read as homophobic. But I don't take fault with my issue. Like I said before, is not with, how sensitive are we now. I'm not getting wrapped up in that whole shebang because times are different now. And I do understand
and it's a generation thing.
That the times in the past, you had a little bit more liberty.
We in full disclosure, because you and I got into it about this very thing. Yeah. Because you thought I was being insensitive, in which I was not being insensitive. And for those of you that don't know, we talked about another documentary from our old show. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how our show dismantled, because I'm coming from a different perspective because of my age than you are. But I am sensitive to where we are today. Mm-hmm. And I do understand that what I heard growing up was wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? I did not agree with Lee Daniels. This is the only thing that resonated with Kevin, is when Lee Daniels was just like, this was an opportunity to speak out against violence against gay people. I don't think that was the place, because nothing that Kevin said, in my opinion, had anything to do with gay violence.
I think what he was touching on was the tweet where he was saying if he saw his son playing with his daughter's dollhouse, he'd break it over the top of his head. And that whole thing.
All right.
So
okay.
What Don Lemon was saying was like, it was.
Don't even bring up Don Lemon.
I'm just saying, because it kept showing him. So I'm saying, I'm just citing what he said in the documentary.
But his ass was trying to take advantage of the whole situation.
He was, because he kept talking.
Kevin called me.
Yeah, I get that.
Don Lemon was trying to take advantage of a situation. He saw an opportunity. He's an opportunist. I don't like him.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying they kept going back to clips of him talking about it, but I agree with the point that it was as simple as saying, hey, like I said, the core of what he was saying was not wrong. Like what his apology was, it wasn't wrong, but it is all in how you present it. And I think what really irked me the most was that if Kevin is so driven by money and success, him being defiant and him being a hard ass about everything, you're messing up everybody around you, their money. And so that's what, when he called that meeting,
what clicked for him.
When he called that meeting at the end with his executive team and his, circle, they were basically saying, look, Kevin, I know how you are as a person. Mm-hmm. I do. And I don't think that you're a homophobe or anything like that. And I agree with that sentiment. But you're now, because you're being so stubborn with this apology,
you're affecting our money.
You're messing up us.
But let me tell you something. When she said that, it did hit home for him. But you got to understand, this man is a narcissist, mm-hmm. and he's constantly ego tripping. So it took him a minute to get from that point to people shaking him and saying, "Listen, dude, you affecting my money."
Yeah. Because you don't want to listen to us, because a publicist, their job, a part of their job description is crisis management. Mm-hmm. So the publicist was saying, hey, I need you to stop speaking.
See, that's why you would be a good publicist too, amongst other things.
Thank you.
But okay.
But I think, and I only learned that from this summer working in a publicity department mm-hmm. for a major network, seeing that it is all in, we need to stop. We need to assess, and then we respond. But Kevin, he was like, I'll respond immediately, and that'll patch everything up. But it patched everything up with the people who already know and love him. But that makes it worse for the people who don't care about him, who are the most unhappy with what he was saying. So I think he got wrapped up in his own ego of like, everybody loves me, everybody knows who I am. But the people, it kind of brought him back to earth when he found out that there is a group of people that don't care anything about him, mm-hmm. that were extremely upset about what he said.
Well, I think we've beat that dead horse. Yeah. I got some questions that I need to ask of you. Did you have anything else to kind of say about that last episode of the docuseries?
I just wrote, I think the last thing that I wrote, or last two things I wrote, is that it's not that he needs to be overly apologetic, but it's the way that you present your apology in a sincere way that matters. And being defiant in the wrong places can mess you up more than the initial thing you did wrong.
I think that's a good closing.
That's basically ending with everything. That's how I felt.
Well, I got some questions for you, Bobbi.
Okay.
My first question is, do you think this docuseries helped, harmed, or did nothing for Kevin in his career?
I think that it kind of did a little bit of both. It helped and it harmed, because it helped him in a way, because when it was done, I was like, I'm a little bit more understanding, and I can, I guess, forgive him a little bit more, because he knows.
You're talking about in terms of the tweets.
Once it was at the end, I can forgive him a little bit more, because this was consistent with the rest of it, but he knows when he messes up. Mm-hmm. He's aware of that.
Yeah.
Whether someone tells him or he comes to it on his own volition, he's aware that when he and he takes accountability.
He does.
I can respect that. I think it harmed him because it showed just how dense to a certain degree he could be, just how manipulative he could be.
I think manipulative is probably more suitable.
Narcissistic.
Yeah.
And how he thinks everyone who works for him is dependable on him, and they're dependable on him to the certain degree of that, solely from a PR standpoint. You need to keep your public image, in the green. Don't keep it in the red, because then you're gonna mess up what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
So,
well, I think that anytime you put something out to create a narrative that you want, you can help yourself, and I think he did to a large degree. I think what was surprising to me is that his wife Iniko came away looking the best out of this whole thing. Like, I think people that didn't know her, and a bunch of women that didn't know her and kind of, classify her as a homewrecker, I think they'll walk away seeing a different side of her. I think they'll see a genuineness that she showed towards his kids. So I think it did everything for her. I think there were times that it showed Kevin's generous side, like when he bought all of the plastic boys,
cars, classic cars,
a classic car or whatever, even though it's a write-off on taxes, but anyway, it's still the gesture. He is a nice guy. He can be nice, but I think that it kind of harmed him because people are starting to see that something is going on with Kevin. Because and this goes to my next question. What in the hell happened in the car accident? We were supposed to hear about that in the doggone documentary, I thought.
And yeah,
that threw me off.
And I still am of the mind that it was still when his the whole Oscars and the tweets things hadn't quite died down yet. So I think it was a ploy to build.
So I guess this was just supposed to be about the Oscars. But when they put it out at this time, he hadn't said nothing about the car accident. He put out some little promo video showing, he wearing the back brace and all of that type of stuff. But I thought when he put this documentary out, we were going to find out more about that. That whole thing,
didn't happen.
We all know was shady. Like, we don't know what happened to the guy and the girl. Like, somebody was saying that it was really a 2-seater car, and so the girl had to be sitting in Kevin's lap. Like, I don't know what happened. Yeah. I know the car was smashed up. I know the girl and the guy in their wedding pictures, they looked like they had never ever seen a car accident. I know the other night watching the doggone Lakers game, Kevin Hart sitting on the front row and Anthony Davis bit behind falls into his lap. Now, you mean to tell me after you done had a major back surgery, you ain't gonna be in pain or kind of fall over or something, or wince or something? And then LeBron brought his behind over there and sat in his lap. Something ain't right.
Yeah, that
something ain't right, because a back surgery is probably one of the worst surgeries that you can have.
Yeah, it's extremely.
It takes a long time to rehabilitate and get through it.
And it's also just like, you move wrong, you can mess up the whole
That's
thing.
what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. It feels like he put out this big commercial, which was this docuseries.
That's what this
so is. That nobody will talk about the doggone car accident. We'll never find out what happened with that. Just same thing, we won't ever find out what happened in the elevator with doggone Beyonce and Jay-Z. We'll never find that out.
I thought you were talking about we'll never find out what actually happened.
And we will never find out what actually happened in Vegas. If he slept with the woman, or was, it's just stuff we won't find out. This was, like you said, one big commercial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they went into every single business venture that Kevin is in, and then they end on it with his executive saying, "What's gonna be your Kung Fu Panda or Shrek?" Then talking about how
and he thought that was so groundbreaking. I'm just like Kevin, that's
first of all, I just finished a 10-page paper on celebrities and animation. You are not the first person to do no doggone kids movie.
Yeah.
Like, stop. Stop.
Please stop.
Like, that was the next venture for you. Just how Eddie Murphy, after he rode his star.
He did Dr. Dolittle and all of that.
Then he did Shrek. He did
Shrek.
Donkey.
He did the donkey and everybody. Okay. Well, I'm exhausted.
I am too.
Talking about Kevin Hart.
I'm ready to take a nap.
Me too. I want to eat something and then go to sleep.
I want to take a nap. This is a lot. And I didn't think I was going to get as heated as I did. I got internally heated talking about his apology because as I was watching it, I was like, people have said way worse things, but they have been able to come back better than you have.
Absolutely.
It's like you're not a publicist. There's a reason why you don't do this.
It's a reason why you hire people to do this. So on that note,
very sleepily saying goodbye. Goodbye. This is the Gray Area Podcast. As always, I'm Bobbi.
And I'm Kay.
And we're tired.
Bye.
Bye.